ever think about what it takes to lead and inspire thousands of people?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Well, today we are going to do a deep dive into the world of someone who has done just that.
Really?
Yeah, someone who has not only worked with over 10,000 employees and led learning for global brands like Etihad Airways,
Wow.
but also possesses a deep understanding of psychometrics.
Okay, this is going to be good.
We're going to be taking a closer look at Andrew,
Okay.
a keynote speaker, facilitator, and podcast host who is passionate about empowering individuals to take the reins of their own leadership journeys.
It sounds like he really knows his stuff.
And we've got some pretty cool sources to explore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We're going to be looking at his LinkedIn profile, a TED-style keynote he delivered, his presentation on skills in their development in 2025, and even get a glimpse into his podcast, The Leading with Andrew Show.
So a unique blend of insights into leadership, communication,
And even neurodiversity.
all wrapped up into one pretty compelling individual.
Absolutely. And right off the bat, his LinkedIn profile really highlights his passion for transforming the way we lead.
Interesting.
So talks about empowering individuals. It's almost like he's saying, hey, you've got this, you can lead too.
And it's not just talk. His psychometric portrait reveals a strong, commanding red archetype,
Oh, wow.
meaning he's driven to inspire others, set those ambitious goals, and really take charge.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't fluent in psychometric lingo, what does this commanding red actually tell us about his leadership style?
Well, it suggests that he's naturally enthusiastic, persuasive, and really thrives in environments where he can influence and motivate others. It also indicates a preference for taking initiative and driving results.
That definitely comes across in his career path, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
Starting as cabin crew and working his way up to cabin manager at Etihad, then transitioning to leading learning and development for major hospitality brands.
Talk about a commitment to growth.
Absolutely. And that upward trajectory aligns perfectly with his commanding red traits. But it's not just about climbing the corporate ladder for Andrew.
No, not at all.
In his skills and their development in 2025 presentation, he emphasizes this idea of purpose over pure ambition.
Interesting.
He even talks about how people are yearning to work for something meaningful, something bigger than themselves.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. And it's fascinating how he connects personal development with leadership.
Yeah.
In the presentation, he breaks down practical steps that individuals can take to build their careers,
Sure.
like taking online courses, getting certifications, and even just networking.
Practical advice.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like he's saying, here's the roadmap, now go out there and create the career you want.
I love that. It's very empowering.
Definitely. And this focus on continuous learning, it's a thread that's kind of woven throughout his work.
You can really see it.
It's evident in his career choices, his presentations, and even his podcast. It's clear he doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk when it comes to personal and professional development.
He definitely does.
Now, speaking of his leadership philosophy,
Yeah.
this is where his TED-style keynote gets really intriguing.
Okay, I'm ready.
He actually challenges that age-old manager versus leader debate.
It's a classic.
Right. He goes beyond that dichotomy and introduces this idea of the conductor, a leader who doesn't just manage tasks, but orchestrates individual strengths and team dynamics to create a harmonious whole.
Now that is interesting.
And the way he describes the conductor, it's not just about communication, it's about comprehension.
Oh, wow.
Really understanding those individual instruments in your orchestra, so to speak.
That's a great analogy.
And that emphasis on understanding.
Yeah.
It aligns perfectly with his psychometric expertise.
It makes sense.
He uses tools like the Luminous Spark, which helps individuals unlock their unique potential and understand their own strengths and working styles.
You know, it's interesting.
So it's not just about him understanding others,
Right.
but it's about equipping people with the tools to understand themselves, which in turn makes them better leaders and team members.
Exactly. It's a more holistic approach to leadership development.
Absolutely. It's about building self-awareness as a foundation for effective leadership.
Okay, so we've established that this conductor leadership style is all about understanding those individual strengths within a team. But how does that actually translate into real-world action?
Well, in his TED-style keynote, he shares an anecdote about his time as cabin manager at Etihad Airways.
Okay.
He was dealing with a conflict between two team members, and instead of just imposing a solution, he really took the time to understand each person's perspective, their working styles, and their individual needs.
So instead of just saying, hey, you two, get along,
Yeah.
he took a step back and tried to figure out what was causing the friction in the first place. Exactly. And by really understanding that root cause of the conflict, he was able to help those team members communicate more effectively and ultimately collaborate more successfully.
It's a great example of putting that conductor approach into practice. It's not about controlling people. It's about empowering them to work together more harmoniously.
Right. And this whole idea of empowerment is a big part of his message.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the tools for personal growth that he highlights is this worksheet called Challenging Negative Thoughts.
Oh, interesting.
And it helps individuals identify and overcome those self-limiting beliefs that can hold them back from achieving their full potential.
I'm curious, does he give specific examples of how to challenge those negative thoughts?
He does.
Because I think that's something a lot of people struggle with, myself included, honestly.
It's so common. He actually encourages people to ask themselves, what evidence supports this thought? And is there another way of looking at this situation? You know, it's all about reframing your perspective and really focusing on those positive, empowering beliefs.
That's really practical. It's
Yeah.
not just this, airy-fairy feel-good advice. It's about taking those concrete steps to actually shift your mindset.
Absolutely. And that practical approach also extends to his work on neurodiversity.
Yeah.
He doesn't shy away from sharing his own experiences and challenges. And he really advocates for creating these more inclusive environments that celebrate individual differences.
And this ties back into that idea of the conductor, recognizing those unique instruments in the orchestra.
Exactly.
It's about valuing diversity, not just tolerating it.
And he stresses that understanding neurodiversity is crucial not just for leaders, but for everyone.
Yeah.
And in his podcast, The Leading with Andrew show,
Yes.
he explores this topic in depth, sharing insights and strategies for creating those supportive, inclusive workplaces.
And speaking of his podcast, I've heard it's a fantastic resource for anyone interested in leadership, personal growth, even just practical tips for navigating the modern workplace.
Oh, it is. He covers such a wide range of topics, from building confidence to effective communication to developing that growth mindset. And he does it all in a very approachable, down-to-earth style.
It's like having a conversation with a friend
Yeah.
who also happens to be a leadership expert and psychometric guru.
That's a great way to describe it. He combines that expert knowledge with this genuine desire to connect with people and help them succeed.
And it's clear that his own success isn't just about accolades or titles.
Right.
It's about making a real difference in the lives of others. You can tell he's driven by this passion for empowering individuals and helping them become the best versions of themselves.
It comes through in every aspect of his work.
Yeah.
Whether he's delivering a keynote, facilitating a workshop, or hosting his podcast, his energy and enthusiasm are contagious.
And his message is clear. Leadership is not about wielding power. It's about empowering others.
It's about understanding yourself and those around you and using that knowledge to create that more harmonious and successful dynamic.
And what's really fascinating is how he weaves together his personal experiences, his psychometric expertise, and his leadership philosophy to create this truly holistic approach to personal and professional development.
It's really impressive.
It is. And I think what stands out to me most is his ability to make these concepts accessible and relatable. He doesn't talk down to people. He meets them where they are and provides those practical tools and strategies that they can actually implement in their own lives.
You're right. He doesn't just tell you what to do. He shows you how to do it. And that's what makes him such an effective and inspiring leader in his own right.
So if you're looking for some practical advice, some inspiration, or just a new perspective on leadership, I highly recommend checking out his podcast. And I'm sure we'll have a link to that in the show notes. Now, I'm curious, what resonated with you most about his approach to leadership? What takeaways will you be pondering after this deep dive? What I find particularly interesting is how he emphasizes the importance of self-awareness as a foundation for effective leadership.
You know, he actually uses his own psychometric portrait as an example in some of his presentations.
So he's putting himself out there, showing his own strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly. It makes him more relatable and shows that he's not afraid to be vulnerable.
And it also reinforces that idea that self-awareness is an ongoing journey. It's not something you just achieve overnight.
Right. It requires constant reflection, feedback, and a willingness to learn and grow.
And he provides those tools for self-reflection, like the Challenging Negative Thoughts worksheet we discussed earlier.
Oh, yeah, that worksheet is a great example of how he translates complex concepts into actionable steps. He doesn't just tell you to be more self-aware, he gives you a framework for actually doing it.
Speaking of frameworks, I'm curious about his thoughts on the future of work. In his presentation on skills and their development in 2025, he seems to be quite optimistic about the opportunities that lie ahead.
He is. He believes that technology will continue to disrupt industries and create all these new possibilities. But he also emphasizes the importance of human skills, things like creativity, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence.
So it's not just about coding or mastering the latest software.
Right.
It's about those uniquely human qualities that machines just can't replicate.
Precisely, and he stresses the importance of continuous learning and adaptation. The skills that are in demand today might be obsolete tomorrow, so it's crucial to be a lifelong learner.
I think that's a really empowering message. It's not about being stuck in one career path. It's about embracing change and constantly evolving your skill set.
Exactly, and he provides practical guidance on how to actually do that. He talks about the importance of networking, seeking out mentors, and experimenting with different learning opportunities.
It's almost like he's saying, don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone and explore new possibilities.
He leads by example. His own career trajectory is a testament to the power of embracing change and pursuing your passions.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with a sense of optimism and possibility. It's inspiring to see someone like Andrew who is so passionate about empowering others to take charge of their own journeys.
He's a true advocate for personal and professional growth, and he provides the tools and inspiration to help us all unlock our full potential.
Well, if you're looking for a speaker facilitator or podcast host who can ignite a spark in your team and inspire them to embrace a growth mindset, Andrew is definitely worth checking out.
Absolutely. His unique blend of expertise, experience, and approachability makes him a truly compelling figure in the world of leadership development.
And his message is clear. Leadership is not about titles or positions. It's about empowering others to step into their own leadership roles.
It's about fostering a culture of continuous learning, embracing change, and creating a more harmonious and successful future for everyone.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Andrew. His insights into leadership, neurodiversity, and personal growth are sure to spark some interesting conversations and inspire you to take charge of your own journey.
Remember, leadership is not a destination, it's a journey. And with the right tools and mindset, we can all become the conductors of our own lives.